All right, one last look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Wednesday morning from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center. Couple of different accidents to report. One at Augusta Highway, both north and southbound at Ermine due to a 18-wheeler stuck at the railroad crossing. Another accident, Highway 262 at I-77. And then one I-77 southbound at Two Notch Road. Today, sunny with a high of 77. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 75. Game day looking a little bit cooler with mixed clouds and sunshine and a high of 72. That's traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center here on The Game. Oh, 9 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. It's our head and Jack Beltry along with you here. Almost halfway through the week. That'll be noon today, I guess. And we'll slowly start turning our attention to Alabama this upcoming weekend. And I don't know whether to be excited about the prospect of another game or just terrified of what Alabama might come in here and do on Saturday afternoon.
I'm starting to think this is the big, bad, scary Alabama Crimson Tide coming in here to Willie B on Saturday. I think that's what we're in for right now. This team's proven they can go win games on the road. That was the one knock against Kalen DeBoer in his first year last year, and rightfully so, because Alabama was terrible on the road last season and still has some tricky road games ahead. But they've walked the walk so far. They've talked the talk. They're going to come in here to Willie B not scared. Why should they be? They went into Athens at night and handled their business. They went into Como, which, not the toughest environment.
But still a road game.
Under construction.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how rowdy that place is when it gets fully done. But point is, they've been on the road and they've handled their business. I know they lost to Florida State, but that was a lifetime ago. They're going to be ready on Saturday.
If you polled the entire nation after week number one, where Alabama looked the way they did against Florida State and Carolina beat Virginia Tech, I feel like about 90% of people probably would have said, oh, Carolina's winning that game. Road game, middle of the season, they're going to be hitting their stride. I don't know, Alabama might be under 500 at that point in time. It's really funny how in just 6-7 short weeks, there we go.
6-7.
In just a few short weeks, that was unintentional. The narrative has shifted quite a bit.
It has. It's definitely shifted to where Florida State's terrible now and looking to potentially fire its coach. And I think Kalen DeBoer is safely off the hot seat, which I don't think he was ever really on the hot seat to begin with, but some fans.
Well, that's the nature of being the Alabama coach. One bad game and you're done.
Oh yeah, I mean, people were talking about, is this the end of the DeBoer era and stuff, or it needs to be, and fortunately it hasn't been. And Alabama's just been dominant, man, rattling off ranked win after ranked win, beating really good teams along the way, with still some more good teams coming up. But this is one of those games that you would think it would be tricky because it's on the road.
Sure.
And maybe it will be. But, man, Alabama's clicking right now. And what has South Carolina done to show anyone that they're going to be the team to pull off the upset on Saturday? Maybe that's the dangerous part about it, is that the unknown of what South Carolina could do. But until proven otherwise, this team is no match for Alabama, in my opinion.
Nothing's impossible in this year of college football, as we've seen, again, every single week with the exception of one. You've had at least one top 25 team lose to a ranked opponent, so nothing's off the table. And, there's not a 0% chance Carolina could find a way to win this game this upcoming weekend. But when you look at things on paper, it obviously doesn't favor them. But we'll dive more into the specifics of Alabama and kind of what we know about them. Let you hear what Coach Beamer had to say and give his scouting report coming up here in just a minute, but plenty of Gamecock things to dive into in just a moment as well. We'll start things off, though, with our Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. Jack, you had a very busy day yesterday. You went to where Coach Beamer and the players talked yesterday afternoon, pretty much right after leaving here. I know you went over, caught some action over at Founders Park, and then last night, Garnet and Black Madness over at CLA. Looked like a fun time.
Just a really busy day yesterday, man. And not even included in that was obviously being here for radio.
Yep.
And then going over straight to the facility for Beamer, doing the Beamer transcript, which takes honestly about like an hour and a half just to churn through, and then you're heading straight over to Founders, and then you're going straight to CLA. I mean, dude, I didn't get home until like 9 o'clock yesterday. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. But to kind of give a little insight to how things went yesterday with baseball and basketball, I'm sure people are wondering. Baseball was pretty good yesterday. They're scrimmaging again today, 4:30, 3 innings, but Will Craddock, one of the incoming freshmen from TL Hanna, hit a go-ahead 2-run homer yesterday. I am high on him, as are a lot of baseball folks that think he could potentially start or play a lot this season as a freshman. So keep an eye out for him. Did hit the home run yesterday, had 2 hits. And then you look at basketball. I don't think we really learned much other than the fact that the women's team gets a lot louder cheers, obviously.
Well, that's not shocking.
Than the men's team. It was significantly different. Like, the energy, don't get me wrong, there were cheers for the men's team. But when the women's team came out, it was a completely different animal. And that should tell you where these two programs are at right now, with the hope that the men's team can be better.
Now, did they introduce players individually?
Yes.
Who got the loudest cheers for the women?
For the women, besides Dawn, I would say probably Raven.
Okay.
I would say Raven or Tanaya probably got the loudest cheers.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And then for the men,
not Joyce or Chloe.
Ooh, Chloe did get some loud cheers. That's the thing, is that they all got super, super loud cheers. That
Maybe it's hard to tell.
It is hard. Like, even the players that are younger on this team got really loud cheers. Like, it was just one after the other after the other. It's like, wow. But for the men, I would say Michi probably got the loudest cheers. Eli Ellis, of course, got some good cheers. But yeah, and the event was pretty good. They did a 3-point contest, which the men, they put one of the women and one of the men on a team together. It was Miles Studi and trying to remember who else it was from the women. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then you got the skills challenge and stuff, which Raven and Eli won. And then the dunk contest, which was pretty fun. Hayden Simeon.
I saw your video. 2
perfect 50s. He did the old trick, jumping over a really tall guy. He jumped over Creased, and then he jumped over Creased as well as Jordan Butler.
Now, is Creased going to be wearing the sunglasses while he's playing this year?
Maybe he should. I think it's a pretty fire
cool look.
It's a pretty fire look, if I do say so myself.
How was Waka Flocka?
I didn't
stay for that. No.
So at that point, again, if I had nothing else going on in the day, and I was just, and plus I also had to go home and write another story and get dinner and all that. So if I didn't have things going on, I'd be like, okay, I'll stay. I got nowhere else to be, but I wanted to beat the traffic since I drove over there, and I heard it was good. But
it looked fun.
But it's Waka Flocka. Now you bring like somebody else out there, like Billy Joel or Darius Rucker or something like that. Okay, I'll go down the pit.
So you're not a Waka Flocka fan?
I know the Waka songs.
Okay.
But I mean, Waka Flocka is from my childhood, middle school.
Sure.
Like No Hands, it just wasn't the most appealing. Waka Flocka's good. I'm sure everyone had a good time there yesterday, but I'd rather just get home, honestly.
Yeah, I saw he was one of the judges. I'm assuming for the dunk contest.
Yeah, the judging grading was pretty harsh. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
It was very harsh at times when guys even had decently good dunks. It was like Cam Scott got shafted a few times. Like he got like a 31 on one of his dunks that he got. I think he had made it too. So
Do we have a controversy for scoring the dunk contest?
I guess so. Like, and it was all the women's players plus Waka. So
Huh.
maybe they should have it out for Cam.
Maybe so. Well, I know you were very busy yesterday. I'm assuming you did not make it over to Green Street to hear the Mike Shula protest.
Oh my God!
Here's a little snippet for those that may have missed it. From that clip, of maybe like 30 or so, or I think it was going down Green Street, from according to the flyer, with their chants and claps. I don't know how many more people joined in, but
It did not.
that's what I saw.
I saw a video where they continued the chant going inside of Russell House, which is literally right next to Green Street.
Okay.
And USC officials had to come down and tell them they had to take it outside. So
I did see somebody make the point that they went about 30 to 40 yards, and then it just kind of fizzled out.
yeah, it seemed like a pretty silly thing, honestly. Like respect for if you want change, you gotta. What was the saying? You gotta like something with your voice being the change.
Yeah, you gotta. I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the exact quote,
Yeah,
but
you gotta
stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah, stand up for what you. If you believe in firing Mike Shula, then by all means do what you think is right. And yeah, I mean, it didn't really lead to much. I mean, like you said, they only lasted a few minutes.
I don't think Beamer's gonna have to address it.
No, and
I'll say that.
I'm glad he wasn't asked about it yesterday. He's got enough things to worry about, and the last thing I'm sure that guy wants to hear is, "Oh yeah, by the way, did you hear there's a protest with the USC students?" Like,
I'm sure he, in his daily scroll of social media, he probably came across the clip and he probably had a good laugh about it.
which he said he has not been on social media much lately. So
He said he saw your jersey last week, so
I know.
you know he was at least on it then.
I know. And the interaction we had with I'm sure people are wondering how that went. He awkwardly said when I got around to asking a question, he said, "Hi, Jack," and I'm just like, "Oh, hi, Shane."
It was kind of one of those if you know type of things.
Yeah, if you like, he had that little smirk on his face too. So I think all is good over there, but again.
Yeah. He was his usual Tuesday self, right?
Yes,
We talk about it
yes.
like after a loss Saturday, he's going to be the guy that looks like he lost his last friend. That carries over to Sunday for teleconference, but usually by Tuesday he's back to being his normal self. And again, we'll see what happens this weekend, but that kind of it tracked with how he usually is.
It's been that way most of the season, and who knows if it's going to change after this weekend. Hey, I'm sure Shane and everyone here would love to see a win. Hopefully some joy is found, and then the vibes can be better. I think that's what everyone needs right now. I think we need it. We need a positive Monday. They need it, obviously, to get a win, but we'll see when it comes.
We'll get into what he had to say yesterday about a couple things, including goals for the rest of the year and what kind of goals are we setting for this team for the final 5 games. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game.
This just in, AAA Heating and Air continues to dominate the Midlands with the best HVAC replacement options around. With guaranteed financing, 12 months, no payments or interest, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty, they are setting the standard for new system installations. But did you also know they have great deals on repairs? That's right. If your system is broken and you're strapped for cash, AAA Heating and Air can still help you out. They offer up to 12-month payment plans with no credit check required on those repairs. So all you need is a valid bank account, and they'll take care of the rest. So don't delay. Call AAA Heating and Air today at 803-677-1500. Again, 803-677-1500. Tell them that you heard about them on 107.5 The Game. Whether it's a replacement or repair, they've got the deal you need.
Like I said on Saturday, I mean, it's going 1-0 each week, starting this week, which will be a big challenge, but it's maximizing the potential of this year's team. And we haven't reached that potential. I, as the head coach, have not gotten the most out of these players and coaches. And that's what we're working hard on to do. And that, to me, is still the high hopes and the high expectations that we have to be able to get the most out of this team, whatever that is record-wise. Let's do it and maximize this team.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points. Our head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. That was Coach Beamer yesterday talking about the goals for the rest of the season going forward for what likely is only 5 more games, unless you find a way to win at least 3 more and get yourself to some kind of bowl. And again, he gives you kind of the coach answers there, going 1-0, stuff like that. But as those watching, those covering this team, what do we set the goals at? What do we want to see this team accomplish or continue to do in the final 5 games that we feel like are realistic? Obviously, everybody would love to see them. Hey, you go 5-0 and end up making something out of this season and end the year on a strong note. I don't think that's going to happen. So I wouldn't put that within the realm of like realistic as of right now. But like for you, if you're setting goals for this team to close out the year, what are some of them?
Get to 6 wins. Make a bowl game. Avoid, in my opinion, for South Carolina, making a bowl game at this point avoids failure. Now, we can view failure in a lot of different ways. It's a broad word to use. And for South Carolina, you could use it as, okay, well, it's a failure that they didn't make the college football playoff. Well, the expectations, I think, were far too high coming into the season, especially after losing so many guys from last year's team, which has obviously had an impact since South Carolina's had a tough time replacing what they lost from a season ago. Now, I think if they make a bowl game, that kind of makes up for a little bit of that, just since the expectations were way too high to begin the year. And once you kind of bring them back down to earth a little bit, it's like, okay, win 3 of your next 5 games. That's a big accomplishment, because at the same time, winning 3 of your next 5 means you picked up a top 10 win along the way,
yes,
potentially top 5 win, and it might be on the road. So that would be very impressive for South Carolina, just finding a way to get to 6 wins. And, we can also look at what are the goals in terms of the offense and the defense and showing growth. It's hard to really pinpoint what the offense needs to do besides score more points. I think that would be a goal. I couldn't put a certain number on it, but I do think getting to 6 wins has to be the goal at this point.
And that's a huge one because, like you said, that at least keeps this season from being a complete failure, because at least you had some kind of postseason. Now, yeah, going from being a 9-win team to a 6-win team is a pretty significant step back, but that's a lot better than going from 9 wins to being like 4-8 and missing the postseason completely. So that would at least be a easier pill to swallow going into the offseason than, again, not having anything in the month of December to look forward to. So that's as an overarching goal, I think that makes a lot of sense. I jotted down a couple here when thinking about this yesterday. For the offensive line, keep your pre-snap penalties down. You did a good job of this past weekend, and Beamer said that yesterday, like, hey, we were able to do that this past weekend, which is a step in the right direction. Keep that going, because I think almost kind of got fooled by it against Kentucky, because I think they only had like 1 or 2 in that game, and then it went right back up against LSU, the next time that we saw them. So keep those kind of things down. That's something that I think's a very obtainable goal of things that can be better on the offensive line. Defense keep you in games, right? And we've given credit to this defense in all their games this year that they've at least given them an opportunity. You were down 7 points, with a handful of minutes to go against LSU. You were down only 6, a couple different times in the fourth quarter with an opportunity for the offense to drive down and win against Missouri. You were only down 10 late in the third quarter, which, again, is unfortunately unsurmountable for this offense. But your defense is doing enough where if the offense finally finds this extra gear and can click things and get more points scored, then you're going to have your opportunities to be in these games. So defense, continue to do that. Throw the kitchen sink at the offense. There should be nothing off the table in terms of ideas or concepts or things that you can try, because what else do you have to lose at this point? Can it really get any worse? I don't think that it can. So throw everything you can think of out there and see what sticks on offense, and then just play with effort. And we give Coach Beamer credit, as we've said, that in his 4 years, and one of those being a pretty rough year at 5-7 a couple years ago, he's never lost the team. He's never had the team go out there and make it look like they're just going through the motions trying to get to the end of the year to transfer out or whatever it may be. So I just want to see everybody continue to play with effort. Continue to play like you care and are actually trying. Like that. Those are some, I feel like, simple goals that I think this team can set for itself.
And I don't think that's too much to ask for, right? The defense needs to continue to give you a chance offensively. The offense needs to go out there and just do whatever it takes. I mean, whatever cards you're holding back, use them. You have nothing more to hide. Just you are what you are at this point. And maybe that breakout game will come at some point, but you will never know unless you just let it all out there and see what you can do. Less of the runs up the middle that just are not working. You don't have the blocking up front to get that going the way you want consistently, at least. There have been a few big breakout runs, but nothing too crazily consistent. And then also, like, get Lenore Sellers going. Like, looking at his stats, only 5 touchdown passes this season.
Yep.
Only 100 yards on the ground rushing. I mean, he's not even going to get close to his numbers from last year. And we're talking about this guy being a potential first-round draft pick. And that's another thing. Let's stop worrying about, we got to get Lenore Sellers to the league and stuff.
That's what Tree said yesterday.
Yeah, that kind of bothered me because it's like, worry about winning games.
Yeah.
Let's not focus on, we got to get Lenore. Like, it's admirable. I get it. It is. Like, you're trying to protect your quarterback, make sure he stays healthy so you can get to the NFL. Well, first off, you got to keep him healthy so that way you guys have a chance to go win games, because without him, you will have no chance. Stop worrying about the future. Worry about right now, because if that's where their headspace is at, that's the problem right there. So I would say just that. And also, I agree with you. Playing hard and making sure everyone is not checking out as the season goes along, because I got a weird feeling that this thing is going to continue to get kind of worse as we go over the next 3 weeks here. And you're looking at a 3-7 record, and you're like, well, our bowl hopes are done. What do we do now?
And that's my thing is your hopes are still alive until you cross over into that 7-loss mark, which, again, could come as soon as 3 weeks from now, or 3 games from now, because you have a bye in there as well, after you play A&M on the road. And then it's that final 2 games of the year against Coastal. And, look, on paper, Carolina should be Coastal, but I have a feeling that game could be very uncomfortably close like Old Dominion was a year ago, so that's not even a guarantee. And, of course, you have a rivalry game against Clemson, who they themselves are, coming off the tracks as well. So who knows what their mindset's going to be by the time that game gets here. But if you're in a situation going in those last 2 games where you've just lost these next 3 and you're not playing for a bowl game, what does that look like then? Because, again, Beamer teams have never been in that situation of not having to play for anything. And at that point, is that where guys, because, look, and this is just part of college football, you're going to have guys transfer out. Now, last year, you didn't really have anybody of significance transfer out. You had a lot of just more depth pieces decide to leave, which is probably going to be the case again this year. But, like, are there more high-level guys that are going to say, you know what, I'm not liking the vibes here. I'm going to go somewhere else, try and get more money, playing time, or a better situation to play in? Those are the people you're concerned about, the guys that are on the field playing most of the snaps. If they start going through the motions and start eyeing other places, that's where you really get concerned.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. And it's going to be a tall task for Beamer, because these are 18 to 25-year-old kids on this team that it's like, I mean, they, especially for the younger guys that really haven't been through this before. And Beamer brought up a good thing yesterday that one of the freshmen, we don't know who it was, came into his office, called him on Sunday, wanted to come into his office on Monday and talk. And Beamer was worried it was going to be about redshirting and all this and that. And it ended up being like, man, I want to help the team. Like, I want to get this thing back on track. And that was a real highlight moment for Beamer this week. And so if that's the mentality these guys are going to have, then it's going to be okay, I think, because that's what you need more of moving forward.
Yeah, and that is just one player, so that doesn't represent all 100-plus guys you have on the roster, but hopefully there are more of those type of guys than the other type in terms of that locker room dynamic. And again, it's going to really get tested. Like, this is going to be the biggest stress test on the morale, the effort, and quite frankly, the coaching staff's ability to keep this team playing as one over the course of these next couple of weeks, where, again, more likely than not, you're probably going to lose more games than you win, and especially if you lose these next 3, then you're out of bowl contention. So, this is going to be a very important stretch in a bad way for, where this Carolina program is at under Shane Beamer. We'll get Coach Beamer's thoughts on Alabama coming up next as he gives his early scouting report and talk about what we know and what concerns us about the Crimson Tide rolling into town this upcoming weekend. It is the Extra Point. It's Tyrod and Jack Veltri on your Wednesday on the game. Tyrod here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. I love the Halloween season. My wife and I watched the Scream movie last night while we were eating dinner. It's a great time of year, and Twin Peaks makes it even better. As spooky season reaches its peak next week, you can hang out with them for the annual Twin Peaks Halloween costume party. You can score king-size specials all week and block your calendar for a sweet treat with the Twin Peaks girls as they serve you in their most scandalous costumes. And before that even gets here, you can obviously hang out there and take in all the great sports actions. Last night, we got the NBA rolling again. So you've got professional basketball, you've got football, but professional in college. You've got Major League Baseball with the World Series starting later on this week. Hockey happening as well, and only one place taking all this great action with tons of delicious food and, of course, those 29-degree draft beers. That is with our friends over at Twin Peaks. All right, welcome back in. Extra Points. Howard Head, Jack Belcher with you here on your Wednesday on the game. We'll get to Alabama in just a moment. AG just called on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines and wanted me to bring up a point. We were talking about effort there a moment ago, and this is a play that in the shuffle there, everything else that went wrong over the weekend offensively that we really didn't get to talk about. There was the play where Lenora Sellers, was it a third down or I think it was a third down, where he went out of bounds right at the line, the first down line, but didn't really like reach the ball out. You know what play I'm talking about from this past weekend?
There are a lot of plays. I'm trying to remember that one.
Yeah, and it's little things like that when we talk about effort of like playing to the echo of the whistle, reaching the ball out, those kind of things that you want to see this team continue to do, right? Like, don't be conservative, don't be safe, put it all out there, and if you can get that extra inch, get that extra yard, then by all means do it. But AG wanted me to bring up that point.
Yeah, that's a good point brought up there, and it feels like that type of effort is missing, right? The extra effort, I think, is the better way to put it, of making the sacrifice type of play, like put your body out on the line to go outstretch your hand, get that first down. But I feel like that's kind of what's missing right now. I also just feel like during the early parts of that game, it just felt kind of like going through the motions, especially like on defense and stuff. And it's not what you want at this point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely not. So, again, appreciate the call there, 803-404-6100. We now start turning our attention to Alabama coming to town this upcoming weekend. And last year was the first time you got to see Alabama when you went and covered them in Tuscaloosa, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to find the right way to ask this. What was the feeling of getting to see them in person for the first time? Because here's the thing. There's a lot of big brands in college football. I was very excited with Oklahoma coming into town last weekend because that's a historic program, great helmet, as we like to talk about, getting to play inside Williams Rest Stadium, and that was neat to see. But, like, Alabama's a different level. Like, this is the standard, the dynasty of our lifetimes, and we're going to get to watch them over at Williams Rest Stadium the second week. And, like, that's exciting to get to see. And what was it like witnessing that in person for the first time last year?
Well, I had seen them play when they came here to Willie B back in 2019, and that was a much better Alabama team.
Sure.
With Tua, Nick Saban, Najee Harris, I think, had a crazy game that day. It was before you got here on the beat, but
Devontae Smith was on that team.
Yeah, Devontae Smith. He like Najee hurtled over a guy and ran into the end zone. So that was. I've seen Alabama a few times now, and
but that before you see them for the first time, there is that like, wow, I'm about to watch Alabama play.
Oh yeah. There definitely is that feeling, and going to Bryant-Denny is always a good time. It's one of the best atmospheres in college football, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, like, this Alabama team coming in here on Saturday, I think is going to not be scared of the moment. Why should they be? Again, they have beaten far better teams than South Carolina this season, and maybe that's the thing. I brought it up during the first segment of the show. There is a little bit of the unknown of, like, what if South Carolina actually does show up? What if they go out here and the good practices they have translates over to the field and they're keeping up offensively? That's going to be the main thing that decides how South Carolina can weather the storm on Saturdays, whether or not that offense shows up against this defense, which has been pretty good this year for Alabama.
Here's what Shane Beamer had to say yesterday, giving his initial scouting report of the Crimson Tide ahead of this weekend's game.
Alabama's got a fantastic team. Coach DeBoer has done an amazing job with them. Great athletes on defense, really good players and dynamic on special teams, and then a quarterback that is playing better than any quarterback in the nation right now. I mean, this guy is on fire. He's a great young man. We tried to recruit him here. Great young man, great player, great family, and really happy for his success. Some of the throws he's made this season, I mean, just are mind-boggling. He's playing at a high level. Their offense is operating at a high level. Got a big challenge in front of us, but I know our guys are really looking forward to the opportunity to go compete Saturday afternoon in Williams-Brice Stadium again. And certainly disappointed with last Saturday, but new week, and this is another opportunity for our guys to get better this week and go compete and hard at it.
That sounds like the number 4 team in the country, and led there by Ty Simpson, as Coach Beamer mentioned. And I said earlier, it's so interesting how the dynamic has shifted on Alabama and Carolina from week 1 to where we are now, because we were ready to run Kalen DeBoer out of Tuscaloosa. This was going to be an Alabama team that was going to be lucky to make a bowl game. They weren't playing with effort. They what was it, 21 loafs, I believe, that Dan Orlovsky counted in that game against Florida State, and they looked terrible. And Ty Simpson wasn't that great of a quarterback. This is a guy that's going to lose his job at some point during the year, and now we're talking about him maybe being the favorite for the Heisman Trophy rolling into this weekend's game. Like, one game doesn't tell the story of an entire season, and Alabama has put those allegations more than well to bed at this point.
Yes, I think they certainly have, and they're going to have much trickier games on their schedule. They're going to get LSU coming to Bryant-Denny in November. You're going to get Oklahoma coming to town. You're going to have to go to Auburn at the end of the year. Like, there are still far more important games for Alabama ahead. Far tougher games, I think, is the better way to put it. But going to Willie B, I mean, look, I expect the crowd to still be into it at the early part of this game. And how South Carolina performs early on in this game will really tell you a whole lot about what it's going to be like and how much the crowd's going to be invested, because it would not shock me if we're in a situation by like halftime, that place might be checked out, ready to leave, ready to get back into the chants again for those who are staying. Like, it could get ugly real quick, but hopefully South Carolina shows up and gives a good performance in this game to start out.
Is there anything at the top of your mind that concerns you the most about this matchup?
The weapons that Bama has. They got a lot of good weapons. I also worry about, it's always going to be an issue for me until proven otherwise, the battle in the trenches. Are you going to be able to protect Lenore Sellers in this game? It was really bad the other day. I mean, you gave up 6 sacks, a ton of pressures. I mean, Sellers, again, a lot of it, he's probably the least of the problems for the Gamecocks right now. Offensively, though, he has a part in it and why they have struggled. But he's not getting much help. And it's not even just the offensive line, but the receivers that just continue to run downfield, even though he's under duress and he's not going to be able to launch the ball downfield. So everyone plays a part in it, and it's a lot of things you got to figure out, Tyler, to get this offense back on track. It would be one thing if it were just the blocking up front, but it's not. It's so many other things that are contributing to this offense being the failure it is up to this point.
I'll go back to one of our goals that we had, or that I had a few minutes ago, in terms of the defense keeping you in every game. I feel like this is the first game where that might really get out of hand, because like, you've faced some good offenses this year. Vanderbilt, very good offense. Missouri, very good offense. This is kind of like a really, really to elite good offense that Alabama's bringing in here, because you got, again, a Heisman level quarterback. You've got, I know he didn't have a great game last week, but Jam Miller, a very capable running back that can torch you for a lot of yards. You've got one of the best wide receiver trios in Williams, Bernard, and Horton in the entire country. Like, these guys could really go out there and expose South Carolina's defense for the first time this year.
That's the thing I worry about. Is I think Carolina's defense has been good, but I feel like they are kind of getting on the verge of getting really exposed moving forward here. I think they kind of got exposed a little bit in the Vanderbilt game, and a little bit against Missouri for sure with the missed tackles and stuff. But besides that, I mean, LSU, they played pretty well. Oklahoma, well, your offense didn't do anything in that game. So, but your defense was all right in that game. But I totally think Alabama can go out here and hang 40 on them if they really wanted to. And that is not going to be enough for this offense to keep up with. If you're the South Carolina defense, you got to somehow find a way to keep Alabama in the 20s. That's the only way you have a chance, I think.
And for the third straight game, you have an offense that's struggling to run the football. Alabama is 14th in the SEC in rush yards per game, 14th in explosive run plays per game in the SEC. And we kind of said the same two things about Oklahoma and LSU. And, well, they both went out there and had their best rushing performances of the season so far. And I do worry that Alabama might get itself right on the ground this weekend as well.
Oh, I think they're going to. They haven't been terrible on the ground. Jam Miller did not do much against Tennessee, but he has had some nice run performances so far this year now that he's healthy. So he'll be a guy that is certainly going to be one to keep an eye on in this offense.
We'll come back. We're up at the hour. Jack Beltry gets to play athletic director and make some hires in college football. Let's see how he does. That's coming up next. Extra Points, Howard Head and Jack Beltry here near Wednesday on the game. All right, welcome back in. Extra Points, Howard Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Wednesday here on the game. We are on the cusp of what I think is going to be the most chaotic hiring cycle in college football history. We've already had 6 Power 4 jobs become available, and there's likely a handful more they're going to be opening here as the season does come to a close. So, Jack Veltri, it's time to make some hires. Who's going to be filling these jobs, these high-level, high-profile jobs? Somebody's going to take them, and it's probably going to be some pretty big names. I've given you a list of hot prospects that are appearing on all these big boards, all these candidate searches, and we're going to rapid fire here, and you're going to tell me who's going to take these jobs. You ready?
I'll be as ready as I can be. This will not be pretty, but we'll see.
All right, so first off, tell me who is going to be the next Florida Gators head coach?
Ooh. You know, I'm gonna go Eli Drinkwitz.
All right, so Eli Drinkwitz, next Florida head coach. How about Penn State?
Wait, actually, scratch that. Take Drinkwitz out. Make it Franklin. Never mind.
Franklin is going to take the Florida.
Sorry. All right, there we go. Franklin.
All right.
I'm like, all right. Well, where else is he going to go?
Okay.
Let's go James Franklin. Penn State.
Penn State.
I am going to go with Matt Rule.
Okay.
Because I do think it just makes sense. I mean, it's probably the most likely hire, I would say.
A lot of connections there, obviously. Former alum, friends with the AD. Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
All right. How about Arkansas?
Arkansas. I'm gonna go Rhett Lashley.
Lashley. Okay.
He's got the connections.
Makes sense.
So I would say Petrino, but he needs to win more games. Scoring points is not enough.
How about UCLA?
Ooh. I'm going to go Tim Skipper.
You think he keeps the job?
I think he does. I think the interim tag is taken off. Jerry Neuheisel's the OC there moving forward. I think things remain the same at UCLA.
All right. How about Oklahoma State?
Ooh, Oklahoma State is a tricky one.
Now, you do have the option of hiring a hotshot offensive coordinator, defense coordinator. You don't have to name them, but you can just go that route.
So you give me this list here. I just don't see any of these names taking that OK State job.
Okay.
So I would go probably like the unknown type of route.
Okay. How about Virginia Tech?
I'm not going to say Beamer because I don't think Virginia Tech, as we've said many times before, Shane Beamer's probably going to get the call from Virginia Tech.
They'd be dumb not to.
With an offer. They'd be crazy not to. However, I'm going to go with a hot, under the radar type of candidate. I think. Well, don't write unknown.
Don't write unknown.
I'm going to tell you who the.
Okay, tell me.
Let's go with Alex Golesh.
Okay, all right. Golesh definitely going to be taking a Power 4 job. I feel like. That'd be a good entry level type of Power 4 job for him.
I could totally see him getting an SEC job maybe at Florida or Arkansas, but I think Virginia Tech is a better spot.
All right, so now let's go to the jobs that we assume are probably going to be open when the season does close. How about Auburn? Who would take the Auburn job?
I don't know, honestly. I'm trying to think like who has connections to Auburn.
I don't know about any specific connections. It is a really good job.
It is.
It would be a high-profile hire.
I don't know if you'd be able to get where would Drinkwitz go if he left? That's
Drinkwitz has been heavily talked about for Florida. Which
I know.
Personally, I don't think he's going. I'd stay at Missouri if I were him. I think
I would too.
Got a good gig there. They're giving you the support you need and the resources. Like, I wouldn't go.
Would Jeff Brom leave for?
Ooh, that's an interesting proposition.
Leave for Auburn. Louisville's a good job for him. I think he
could go to Auburn. I think that's possible.
Let's put him down for Auburn. Again,
all right.
Again, this is no one would ever hire me for an athletic director. So this is all just opinion at the end of the day.
All right. How about Kentucky?
Ooh. Is it safe to say that I think Mark Stoops is going to still be there next year?
You think Stoops' job is safe? Okay, we'll stick with Stoops.
I don't think he's safe. I think the buyout is just...
They have no choice.
They have no choice. I mean, it's...
All right. How about Florida State?
Ooh, now if this does become available, I wonder how much money they would spend on a head coach because of all the buyouts that they're going to have to do with Norvell, and that's a big contract that you have to get off the books there. You'd think they would make a big hire. Would Matt Campbell be a good fit?
His name would be on the board for sure.
Yeah. because I don't think Florida State can just hire a coordinator or an unknown.
It'd need to be a probably established coach.
Bring Jimbo back.
Bring Jimbo back.
You know, speaking of which,
Jimbo may go to Oklahoma State.
I was about to say, forget the unknown with OK State. Let's put Jimbo down for OK State.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Forgot he exists. I don't know what they would do at Florida State. That would be an unknown, in my opinion.
All right, how about Wisconsin? That's definitely going to be open.
You think? Because Fickle just got the support from them.
Well, we all know what that means. So did Norvell.
I think Wisconsin, you go with a hot shot OC or DC.
Okay.
I don't think it's that. It's a good job, but it's not. It's not the best job, I don't think.
So here's where the cycle really gets crazy because now we need a new head coach at Nebraska. We need a new head coach at SMU. We need a new head coach at South Florida. We need a new head coach at Louisville. You see how this cycle can get crazy?
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. Like, there are going to be so many more job openings that we need to do this at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, when we know for sure which ones are open.
When we know. It's going to be, we're going to be playing this again. This is fun.
Yeah, so there's Jack's attempt at being an athletic director.
Hire me. I'm available.
We'll see how many of those things come true. Hour number 2 on the way. Can the offensive line get meaner? Coach Beamer discussed that yesterday. We'll talk about it next here on The Game. It's all right here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I went out to the fair the other day, and they had a Canty Foundation Specialist booth. So guess what? I got to meet some of the people there, which is always a good time. And I'm always happy to remind you, as I told them, since they do the ad reads here every single morning, you need to be on the lookout for things around your home that are a little bit odd, a little bit off. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticking on uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you have any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues, and that's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfix.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get them fixed so you and your family can live comfortably going forward. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfix.com for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. Welcome back in. Hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Wednesday on the game. A lot of things to get to this hour. NFL top 5, bottom 5. We'll get to our updated playoff eliminator coming up here in just a minute. But I want to get back into what was discussed yesterday with you guys, Coach Beamer, and the players that are made available. And as I imagine, because they're the talking point of this team right now, the only players made available yesterday were offensive linemen. And one of them was
Vakari Swain too. Yes.
Do we have Vakari Swain? I didn't catch the Vakari Swain part.
Did have Vakari Swain. Yep.
Okay, I just heard from I saw the ones from the offensive linemen, but still, majority offensive linemen speaking yesterday, and one of them was Boaz Stanley, and one of the things that he talked about that offensive line needing to do was play meter, and here's what he said.
We gotta play like just meaner and really just, like I was saying, execute a lot better. We got some different players than what we started the season off, obviously, and we just got to execute together better, and that's what the coaches are getting us to do that, and just adjusting to, obviously we got Coach Elliott and adjusting to what he wants to do, and just doing that better.
Most good offensive lines play pretty mean and nasty. Now, you got to play within the rules of the game, obviously, so you can't go out there and bite people's noses and stuff like that. But within the rules of the game, play mean and nasty, kind of have that edge to you that I think we can all agree this offensive line just doesn't have right now.
No, they don't. They don't. And the other team is, I think, out physicaling them and playing tougher. And that's what South Carolina is missing. It's not even just on the offensive line either. Like they're a big part of it because you have to block with a little bit of meanness to you and toughness out there. You got to be the more physical group. But I think everyone on this team could kind of use that little bit of that swagger a little bit that is just kind of absent at this point in the season. You know what I mean?
Right. And you played offensive line, yourself back in high school, and it's more than just gritting your teeth and growling that makes somebody mean as an offensive lineman. When you hear we need to be meaner, what does that mean to you?
Like, get pissed off. Like, go out there. Don't play soft. Like, that's the main thing. Like, you got to just – it's not like – you just got to, like, in my opinion, you just got to, like, think of something that would just really tick you off and then just go out there and take it out on the other guy. Like, just drive that guy back until he's a non-factor in the play. Like, it's just as simple as that. So,
did you have something you thought about that made you angry?
I honestly don't know, but it's just something you just like mentally just gotta play with. Like,
okay.
You can't just be normal out there. I don't know if that makes sense, but you have to have that mindset, like Boaz said. It's just something that you just got to turn on and just take it out. I mean, it doesn't even have to be anything that you think of. You just go out there and just play mean. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and you have more interactions with these guys, than I have. But all these guys seem like very nice, well-mannered, good-standing dudes. And it's like, that's great. It's good as that you're good as people, but like, I want mean and nasty offensive linemen. I want guys that I don't want to come across in a dark alley type of things. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I want you to be an absolute punk on the field, not getting flagged or anything.
Sure.
Not doing anything stupid to help you lose the game, but to be a nuisance to the defensive lineman on the other side, like that they're getting in your head. That's essentially, I think, what they need to do is to be the smarter team, meaning don't get penalized for holding, pre-snap, anything like that. Continue to do a good job with it because you have done pretty well with it 2 of the last 3 games. But then also be the bigger guy on the line. Make sure those guys are not getting past you. The way I would treat it, Tyler, is we hear so much talk about how they need to do a better job of protecting Lenore Sellers, and we hear Tree talk about, well, we need to protect him to keep his draft stock up. Okay, well, treat Lenore Sellers like he's the most valuable possession on the face of the earth. If he gets touched or broken, all that value's lost. You want to keep him up and making sure he can make plays, not worrying about his draft stock and stuff, But if that's the mentality they really are going to have, then make sure you're protecting him at all costs. Put your body on the line. Do whatever you got to do. That is more so the mindset I would have besides just playing tough and mean.
And this is the dilemma you face when you're this deep into a season trying to figure these things out. You already obviously made the offensive line coaching change with, firing Teasley and putting Sean Elliott in place. And we said last week, there's only so much improvement this team can make this deep into the season because a lot of your areas of improvement happen in the offseason, spring ball, summer, fall camp, those kind of things. That's where development and change really takes place. I will say, though, with Sean Elliott being the intense guy that he is, being a little bit meaner, not a ton, it's not going to be leaps and bounds, but being a little bit meaner, playing with a little bit more edge is something that I think is feasible and can change over the course of a couple weeks.
And I think having Sean Elliott as the O-line coach automatically instills, that's actually a good way to put it. We talk about the meanness and stuff. Play how Sean Elliott would, right? Embody what Sean Elliott does with how much of a sicko, like a maniac he can be. Yelling, screaming, just getting up in your face. That is what they need to embody when they're out there on the field. That is, they should embody how their coach is. And I think that would honestly make a bit of a difference.
I think it absolutely would, and we'll see if that makes any difference this upcoming weekend. Taking on Alabama. Alabama, by the way, one of the teams that has not appeared and I don't think will be appearing in our college football playoff eliminator that we do every single week. I looked this up yesterday. According to the FPI, 29 teams still have a greater than 10% chance to make the college football playoff with only 5 weeks of the regular season left to go.
Yeah, and we have got some teams to get through to cut on this week's list of the college football playoff eliminator.
So let's start with the SEC. Do you have anybody you're ready to put on the list?
Let's see.
You already added Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, and Auburn. So
Mississippi State.
Yep.
Add them to the list.
Losing to Florida this past weekend. And look, they're a team that got off to a really good start this year, and they're still exceeding expectations. But
they've lost some close games. That's the hindrance on them.
By the way, why are you throwing the ball in field goal range in the final minute of the game? What? I didn't get the reasoning behind that.
Neither did I. Bad play call. Bad situation there that gave Florida a chance at the end.
That's going to be a learning opportunity for Jeff Lebby, I hope, because they gave away their opportunity to win that game. And shout out to the Florida defensive linemen, though, because not too many D linemen get interceptions, certainly game-sealing ones. So good moment for him, even though his coach still got fired at the end of the day. Looking at the Big Ten now, we've already put UCLA, which, by the way, don't look now. UCLA still controls their own destiny.
But they play Indiana. They play Ohio State.
My hopes aren't very high, but credit to them for turning things around. What was Deshaun Foster doing? Were they even practicing?
I don't even know.
That team flipped a switch the second they fired him. It's crazy.
As long as UCLA takes care of business they have a chance to make a bowl game. Even if they lost to Ohio State and Indiana, which I think they're going to get beaten pretty badly by those teams. But the rest of the games, they'll still have a chance to make a bowl game. Just got to win the rest of your games besides those two. But UCLA, they're out of the playoff in our opinion just because of the 4 losses. But in the Big Ten race, they're still in it.
Anybody you're ready to add to this list? We've already got UCLA, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Purdue, Rutgers, Penn State, Michigan State, Maryland, and Illinois. We've already eliminated more Big Ten teams than any other conference.
Not ready to eliminate anyone else just yet. I would say Nebraska with another loss would probably be up there on that list. Washington's kind of getting there too. They're 2-2 in conference play, but I'm going to hold off on eliminating those two teams, in my opinion.
So I was going to put Nebraska on there anyway because
let's do it.
They fell out of the top 25, and they don't have any more ranked opponents left.
Okay, let's do it.
I don't know if they have enough quality wins to get themselves there.
Let's do it.
So we'll go ahead and put Nebraska on the list there.
And Washington has some quality opponents left. They get Illinois, they get Oregon, so they'll have opportunities to kind of make up for some of the losses they've had.
Theoretically, if they were able to run the table, they would put themselves in a good spot. They do have 2 losses already, which that's, I don't know if 2 losses can get you to the conference championship game.
But they did lose to Ohio State, and who else did they lose to? They lost to Michigan. So,
yes.
at Michigan too. So pretty respectable losses, I would say.
Anybody from the ACC? I couldn't come up with a name from the ACC this week. And we've already put Stanford, Virginia Tech, BC, Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, NC State, Wake Forest, and Syracuse.
I don't think so. I think we've kind of got everyone to this point so far. I think we're good with the ACC.
And the ACC, we talked about this on Monday. Miami losing this past weekend, only one loss. They could be out of the conference championship game. Like, that's how tight that conference race is now, that if you're a one-loss team, you're still in the mix to make the conference title game, and obviously that will punch your ticket to the college football playoff. So the ACC is very much rivaling the Big 12 in terms of like how many teams are still going to be in the mix in the last handful of weeks of the season.
They have a little bit of margin for error to go, but again, another loss kind of screws them up, I think, a good bit.
Last Power 4 conference, we'll go with the Big 12. Already put on Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Colorado, West Virginia, UCF, and Arizona. Anybody you're ready to add?
What about, do we have Baylor on there?
We do not have Baylor, but I did have them as a consideration.
Let's put Baylor on. Baylor.
And my reasoning was 2 losses in conference, like the ACC. I don't think that's going to get you to the conference title game, and I think you're going to have to win this conference to get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, Baylor.
How about Utah?
Utah was just a top 25 team.
They were, but 2 losses now?
2 losses. I can't say I'm ready to put them on there.
Okay, we'll hold off on that.
Let's put Kansas on there, though. They've got
Kansas.
They got 3 losses, and they're 2-2. I think we got it covered right now.
Okay.
So we could put Iowa State and TCU on there. Iowa State, honestly, they've lost 2 straight.
Mm-hmm.
Do we put them on there?
You see what they have left on their schedule.
If they have nothing quality left, I think we take them out.
Let's see here. Iowa State. So they are still pretty high up in the standings. But again, I don't think 2 losses is going to get you to the conference championship game. They only have one more. Oh, no, they have BYU and Arizona State the next 2 weeks. I don't know if they're going to win either one of those games.
Let's hold off on eliminating them then.
Okay. All right. We can hold off on that for a little bit. But again, I'm very weary of teams with more than 1 loss.
Me too.
In the Big 12. Because, again, that's looking like it might be a one-bid league. Texas Tech maybe could get into 11-1 by not playing the conference championship, but I don't feel comfortable saying that right now.
That loss to ASU really hurt them. That's one that got away.
That is.
So,
and
to
again,
come back and then to give that lead right up.
Like Miami, they don't control their own destiny. They can win out and still miss the conference championship with 1 loss. That's how crazy that conference is as of right now. We'll get into some NFL headlines and hit our NFL top 5, bottom 5 coming up as the hour rolls along. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game.
Everyone around here knows that AAA Heating and Air has the best HVAC replacement options in the Midlands with guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. They are tough to beat when you need a new system, but what if your system just needs a repair? Well, AAA has something for you as well. If you're strapped for cash, they offer up to 12-month payment plans with no credit check on repair services. Yep, no credit check. So all you need, just have a valid bank account and own your home. Whether you're replacing or repairing, AAA Heating and Air has you covered. Give them a call today at 803-677-1500. Again, that is 803-677-1500. You can tell them that you heard about them on 107.5 The Game. Call today. Get your comfort back on track. You'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Jack Belcher with you on your Wednesday here on the game. Getting into some NFL talk now as we're almost halfway through the NFL season, believe it or not. It does go by very quickly. Thought this headline was interesting yesterday. The Eagles have brought back Brandon Graham, who retired at the end of last year after, of course, winning the Super Bowl, capping off what was a long and successful career for him. Well, the Eagles are dealing with a lot of injuries on defense, particularly when it comes to their edge play. And we're like, hey, you want to unretire? Why not? So it looks like Brandon Graham back in the fold for the Eagles.
He's 37, returned from a torn triceps muscle, which he had suffered. I thought that was going to end his season, but ended up getting back to play in the Super Bowl, helped the Eagles win their second title in the last few years. And, yeah, I mean, look, it seems like the Eagles are excited about it. I think it's a good move for them to bring him back. And this happens quite a lot with teams that have still relatively young enough guys that can easily unretire and bring back into the fold.
Well, and that's the convenient thing is his retirement was only a handful of months ago. So it's not like he's been on the shelf for, 5-6 years and you're asking him to come back then. Though we have seen some guys that have been away for a few years and make some comebacks. A little bit different situation there with Brandon Graham. Is there like a recently retired Bill that right now you would take back on the field?
I'd take Cole Beasley.
Okay.
That's a random one. I would take Cole Beasley.
He was good.
As a guy that I liked it. I liked him. He was a good player to have. And honestly, this Bills offense is kind of struggling a bit right now. I think Josh Allen always liked throwing to Cole, and Cole made some big plays. And I actually look up how old he is right now.
He's only 36.
Only 36. Might be a little bit slow, but man, I mean, he's gonna give you what you need with a little bit of production. So
he's only been out since 2022.
I think it could be possible, but we'll see.
Yeah, not crazy. I've debated on this because again, it's got to be somebody that realistically can go out there and still play at a high level. Like thinking about my team, the Falcons, like Julio dropped off significantly in his career, so you wouldn't be getting like prime Julio. Like Matt Ryan.
I don't know, honestly.
I know it's been over a decade. I think Tony Gonzalez can still play some good football.
Let's see. Tony's been out.
He's got to be getting up close to 50 now, though.
You know. Actually, I'll give you another one that I always see it every single year as a guy. Like, there's two guys I'll bring up here. One did not play for the Bills, I don't believe, but Terrell Owens.
Okay.
He's a former Bill for the 1 year that he was with the Bills back like 15 years ago. He's someone that I feel like he's still in very good shape to where he could definitely still play. The one I would love to see him come back because he's from our childhood, Ocho Cinco.
Oh, man. How old is Ocho Cinco now?
I don't know, but he looks to be in tip-top shape.
By the way, I looked it up. Tony Gonzalez is 49. So
Ocho Cinco's 47. I think he could still play.
Not the same level of production probably, but I think they're still capable of going out there and making some plays.
Like, if you needed a mid-season guy to bring in, especially at receiver, for like for my Bills, like I would love like T.O. or Chad Johnson. I think that would be pretty good.
That's funny. I think of a guy that retired a couple of different times. They kept bringing him back, like Morton Anderson, the kicker.
Kickers are a lot, I think, more easy to bring out of retirement because I think you can honestly kick for, like, if Adam Vinatieri, I know
he can kick for a long time.
He struggled at the end of his career with the Colts, but if a team ever needed to call a kicker, I think that could be one.
The Falcons in 2006 were struggling at kicker, and they called Morton Anderson out of retirement for the two kind of lost years there with 2006 and 2007, and God, he was like 45 at that point in time, which again, kicker a little less wear and tear than your positions that are taking some hits and stuff like that. But yeah, Brandon Graham back in the fold for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll see what kind of role he can end up playing. All right, time to hit our NFL top 5 and bottom 5. We'll go through this pretty quickly here. How could I not put him at number 1? The only team with 1 loss and no tie. They had a tough road win at Los Angeles this past weekend. Man, it's the Colts. Colts are number 1 for me.
Man, how can you not? How can you not? Like, this is the Colts. Like, number 1. Pretty easy right here.
I still can't believe it.
I can't either. I really cannot either. It feels like we're living in a like, is Peyton Manning at quarterback?
No, that's
for the
Danny
Colts?
Dimes.
Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones. I mean, he has just been seriously like. Would he be up for like comeback player of the year?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know he didn't get hurt last year, but just the way things went down with the Giants last year.
To go from being benched and traded, being thought you were washed, to now leading what might be one of the best teams in the league, I'd give it to him.
Like, forget about Anthony Richardson. Like, forget that guy. Cut that bum. Move on from him, and sign Danny Jones like for a few years.
Number 2 for me, no surprise, Detroit Lions. They knocked off my previous number 1 last week in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Terry and I were having this conversation yesterday. I think at their best, there's no team they can't beat in the league.
No.
Like they might be on their best day better than anybody.
But on their worst day,
On their worst day, they do have their ups and downs.
the postseason's going to be a different beast. But getting through the regular season, this should be probably, I think, the best team in the NFC. And once again, they are doing it without Ben Johnson calling plays. They don't have Aaron Glenn on defense calling shots at DC anymore. But Dan Campbell's still at the top and getting the most out of these guys. They've done a really good job. And for me, they've moved up 3 spots up to number 2 as well. Because, I mean, they took down my previous number 2. They took down the Bucs and really shut down what has been a really good offense. Like Baker Mayfield, if you pick him to win the Heisman Trophy, he's done that.
He's done that.
If you pick him to win the NFL MVP at the end of the year, you feel pretty good about it right now. But because of that, for the Lions defense to go out there and shut that Bucs offense down, really impressive.
Number 3 for me, it's going to be the Green Bay Packers. Are we just not talking about them enough?
We aren't.
They're 4-1-1. They had that tie with the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago. They've just kind of been quietly handling their business, which is weird because it's the Packers. And they've held 4 of their 6 opponents under 20 points so far this year. Like, they're doing a really good job of not making headlines, but still playing really well.
It's going to be interesting this weekend. You get not the return of Aaron Rodgers, but I think it's his first time playing against the Packers since leaving on Sunday Night Football, which will be really interesting. At number 3 for me, got the New England Patriots. I like the way they're playing football right now. I know they beat the Titans this past weekend, but still, we haven't forgotten that they went into Buffalo and beat the Bills in what was a really good game out there a few weeks ago on Sunday Night Football. They've been a surprise this year and been certainly ahead of schedule. So at number 3 for me.
Okay, number 4, Eagles picked up the win against the Vikings this past weekend. And once again, it's a case of it doesn't have to be pretty as long as you win. And now they had that little skid of losing a couple games in a row there, but back in the winning ways. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFC and are probably going to be in the mix to win the NFC title once again. Again, their offense isn't fun to watch, but they win at the end of the day more often than not, and that's what's important.
I'll get to the Eagles here in a second. Number 4 for me, Green Bay Packers. Like you said, Tyler, we are not talking about them enough. They're a few plays away from potentially still being undefeated at this point in the year with a 3-point loss to the Browns back in week 3, and then you have the tie with the Cowboys that really could have gone either way. But number 4 for me, really impressed with the way they're playing, and this is a very solid team.
Number 5 for me, and I reserved the number 5 spot to be a little bit more spur of the moment. How can you not be impressed with what the Broncos did on Sunday, overcoming a 19-point deficit and scoring 33 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Giants?
We have not talked about that yet this week. Talk about just an utter collapse, and how does Brian Dable still have a job?
Ooh. Like, that's going to be a big ding on the resume for sure.
Well, I mean, the record itself is already a massive ding, but he should just be gone. I mean, it's bad there. Number 5 for me, Philadelphia Eagles. Much better performance on Sunday at Minnesota. They played well in defense, made enough plays offensively to win that game. A.J. Brown had a big game, so I think the Eagles are going to be fine moving forward.
We'll get into our NFL bottom 5 in the next segment, including one team that's probably going to appear in both of our bottom 5s. With the owner calling out the quarterback, oh boy, it's not getting pretty up there in New York. We'll dive into that next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Wednesday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyrod and Jack Belcher with you on your Wednesday here on The Game. Coming up on Friday, tailgate show, post-game show at Krager Showrooms at 417 Hugie Street. You can grab a brew from Savage Craft and snack some great food from Coyote Grills as well. Again, that's Friday from 3 until 6, post-game show over at Krager Showrooms on Hugie Street. It is time for Who Sprung a Leak as we transition into our NFL bottom 5. And, well, there's one team that's been in our bottom 5 the entire season so far because they've yet to win a game. And, well, now their owner is beefing with their quarterback, I guess. Woody Johnson, who owns the New York Jets, had some choice words about Justin Fields, who was benched over the weekend.
Well, it looks like he's turning around parts of it. You know, it's hard when you have a quarterback with, with a rating that we've got. You know, he has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently with, at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Wasn't Woody Johnson a part of bringing Justin Fields to the Jets in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Talk about one of the, if not the worst owners in sports. I mean, he is just, it's not surprising to hear this from Woody. It's the Johnson family. It's a mess out there in New Jersey with the Jets right now.
And if you didn't catch over the weekend, because why would you pay that much attention to the Jets anyway, they did finally bench Justin Fields. Atrocious game for him over the weekend, or a couple of atrocious games in a row. And speaking of former Bills, by the way, Tyrod Taylor is now the starting quarterback for the Jets. He's officially, he's not Josh Johnson levels of journeyman yet, but he's like number 2 in terms of journeyman quarterbacks at this point.
Bills legend, Tyrod Taylor. Never forget, he helped the Bills get back to the playoffs not too long ago. But, yeah, man, he's did not have a good game on Sunday filling in for Justin Fields. So we know where the Jets will be, but let's get into this bottom 5. I'll start out here.
Okay, go ahead.
The Baltimore Ravens at number 28 have not moved. They had the bye week, so couldn't go up, couldn't go down really, but they've lost 4 straight, and hopefully you get Lamar back, but it's been tough sledding in Baltimore this year.
Did you see the video of Lamar that's been going around social media?
Was it the video of him going to that food truck?
The food truck, yeah.
And it
looked a little...
He looks like he would rather be anywhere else. But
looked a little out there, I'll say that much.
Yeah, it looked like he was having too much fun.
So we'll see what becomes of that. But, yeah, and here's my thing. I don't know what you're playing for at this point. Like, yeah, Lamar can help you get some wins. That defense is still not good, and they've had their own share of injuries. Like, would it be even smart to just say, you know what, Lamar, why don't you just take the rest of the year, get healthy, and we'll try this again next year?
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
It wouldn't be. I don't know if they're going to go that route, but, yeah, I don't know what you're really playing for right now by bringing Lamar Jackson back and risking him getting hurt again. Now, and you said they were on the bye week, so that can kind of take them out of your mind for a couple days in terms of how bad that season's going. I probably would have still had them at 28 if it had not been for what happened in Denver over the weekend. If I'm going to put the Broncos at number 5 for the comeback, I feel like it's only fair to put the Giants at number 28 for collapsing that way. And look, the first couple weeks of the Jackson Dart experiment, you've had your ups and downs. This was the worst part because you had a 19-point lead. You had not given up a point yet in the game to the Broncos and allow them to come all the way back. Even you scoring again to take the lead back, the defense allows them to go right back down the field and kick that game-winning field goal. So Giants, to me, number 28.
I left them out of my top or out of my bottom 5 just because of how many other bad teams there are in the NFL. So, but they are getting off the hook for right now. Another loss. I don't know, man. I might have to move them. Number 29, New Orleans Saints. Man, I feel bad for Spencer Rattler. Just another ugly game this past weekend against the Bears. The Bears have looked a lot better, winning 4 straight. But, yeah, it's bad in year 1 with Kellen Moore and the Saints, and it's not going to get any better, I fear.
I'm with you on the Saints at number 29. By the way, the Bears ran for 222 yards against them this past weekend. I feel bad for Rattler. I feel bad for Kai Kroger. I feel bad for Torrey Simpkins because they're playing on a very bad football team. But it's almost not worth discussing at this point. It's just they are what they are. It's honestly surprising they're not still a no-win team at this point. They do have a win. I'm not expecting too many more.
I wouldn't either. So is that who you have at your
Yeah, that was my 29 as well.
29, 30 for me? Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
Another team that is just. I mean, all these teams at this point stink. I mean, there's nothing more to say. The Titans have looked bad and lost the revenge game for Mike Vrabel on Sunday. So fired their coach. I mean, it's bad in Tennessee.
Dolphins are my number 30, which I'm sure they're still probably going to be at the bottom of the list for you. I don't even know what to say at this point about whatever this dynamic is. And if you didn't catch this, here's Mike McDaniel the other day talking about his expectations for Tua going forward.
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be our starter this week. And my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
Can we just cancel all Dolphins press conferences going forward? Because every time Mike McDaniel or Tua Tagovailoa get in front of a microphone, they just further make themselves and this organization look awful. I don't even know what to call this at this point.
Just absolutely terrible. Just so bad. And they are my number 31. I'd love to put them at number 32. But I, in good faith, cannot do that, knowing who is at the bottom, and rightfully so, where they should be. But the Dolphins at number 31, what an absolute catastrophe. They got blown out by the Cleveland Browns, man.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns. The franchise that has been always historically bad. It is, and I know, and here's the thing about the Dolphins, man. It just continues for whatever reason. I don't know how they're going to figure it out. They can't play in the elements. It was disgusting weather out in Cleveland. I don't know what the temperature was, but it was probably pretty chilly out in Cleveland in mid-October. But this franchise, for whatever reason, every single time, it's one thing to play in negative temperature like you did a few years ago when you went to KC, but every single time the Dolphins face weather that is not 85 and sunny like South Beach, they stink. So
what's the benefit of still hanging on to McDaniel at this point? Well, why have they not made a move?
I don't. That's what his press conferences are like, by the way, where he just says
he seems checked out at this point.
How is this guy head football coach?
I mean, he's a good offensive mind.
Yeah, but
and here's the thing: they're a classic example of when you're winning, everything's great. But the second you face adversity, he does not seem to be the kind of guy that can rally the troops, keep everybody in line without letting them just go buck wild.
It's so bad. It's laughably bad how bad this team is. And the fact they have not moved on from him yet, I don't know. And the fact they're sticking with, that's the other thing. They brought Quinn Ewers in at the end of the game thinking, okay, like maybe this is going to be what they're doing moving forward. What do they have to play for at this point besides pride? Get to see what your future is, because Tua turn the ball over is not good at all right now.
I love that nickname, by the way. All right, was that your 31?
That is my 31. So round it out.
Yeah, 31 for me. The Jets, no wins. Now you have this drama with your incompetent owner calling out your quarterback. That's now your backup. Again, Aaron Glenn may be a one and done. I don't know. This is a bad season.
They suck. I mean, it's straight up. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Number 32. The New York Jets, right where they belong. 0-7, last winless team remaining. I'm shocked they're not your number 32, but I get why, because we know who comes next for you. Man, they are bad. They're so bad. Their offense stinks. Justin Fields is horrible. Tyrod Taylor, former Bills legend, but man, he stinks too. I mean, this whole franchise is a joke. Need to just get rid of them, abolish them. I don't even know what you do. What do you do to fix them? At least you'll hopefully get the number 1 pick, but knowing the Jets, they'll find a way to screw that up.
My number 32 continues to be the Tennessee Titans. Of course, they're the first team to fire a coach this year. Now, if the Dolphins do move on from McDaniel, then I feel like we can have a case for the Dolphins to drop down at the end. But if you've already punted on the season by firing your coach, to me, that makes you the worst team in the league and will continue to be that way. So, there's NFL top 5, bottom 5 is – man, these teams continue to dig themselves deeper and deeper into holes with every week that goes by, it seems like.
Like, I just can't believe how bad some of these teams are, man. It's not good for the NFL to have this many bad teams, and it's like we honestly can make this a bottom 10 just because of there's so many other bad teams. Like, I can't put the Giants in there just because, again, there's so many teams that have one win at this point in the year, and injuries are going to happen. But there's just some teams that are just downright awful in every single way.
We'll see if our lineups change at any point coming up next Wednesday as we continue on with this NFL season. We'll come back and wrap up the hour, talk some racing with Jen Jensen as the Extra Point rolls along. It's Ed and Jack Beltry here on your Wednesday on the Game. And welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head Wrapping up the hour here on your Wednesday on the game, as we do each and every Wednesday. Time to talk some racing with Jen Jensen from the early game. As we're getting down to it, only 2 more races to go in 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season, as we had the middle race of the round of 8 this past Sunday at the always treacherous Talladega Superspeedway. And, well, as always, it lived up to its chaotic billing. Excitement from start to finish, big wreck early on in the race, and a crazy last couple laps there, leading to Chase Briscoe picking up the victory.
Man, no kidding, and not a good day for Hendrick Motorsports, that's for sure.
Not at all.
But again, Talladega delivers.
It absolutely does. Again, Chase Briscoe picking up his 3rd win of the season. Not somebody that you would look at as a strong super speedway racer, but obviously kept himself up there in contention. Wild last couple laps there, battling with Todd Gilliland, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, and being able to come out on top and obviously avoid getting crashed. And we felt pretty good about his chances of making the Final Four, but obviously now locks himself in and has an opportunity to go race for his first Cup Series championship.
Yep, and Ty Gibbs kind of redeemed himself a little bit by pushing Briscoe to that win. But all good things right now for JGR. I mean, you got in the Final Four at this point, if it were to start, the races tomorrow, you have Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell in, and then Kyle Larson. So it's a good year for Joe Gibbs.
It absolutely is, and again, you got 2 of those guys, so you're going to be taking up half the field, no matter what at the end of the day, and we'll see what fares for them for everybody this upcoming weekend and trying to fill out those last 2 spots. It really looked like William Byron's going to be in position to put himself in a good spot going into the penultimate race at Martinsville this upcoming weekend. He gets spun on the last lap by Carson Hocevar coming through the tri-oval. I think he would have been finishing somewhere around 4th or 5th probably. Instead, he drops all the way down to 25th, and now he has to go in there and win this weekend. So a huge point swing for him, as well as Kyle Larson, who was running up there in the mix for the win and ends up falling at the very end as well, all the way back to 1 spot behind him in 26. So big point swings for those 2 guys.
Yeah, and I know Byron wasn't very happy about the fact that what had happened, and it was definitely a fuel mileage game, and unfortunately Larson and the team lost. But since Byron was behind him, that just kind of pushed everybody back. So a tough day for sure. And yeah, I mean, at this point, Byron's only chance to get in is winning.
And that's kind of the case for everybody that's below the cut line. So for the update, William Byron is first below the cut line at minus 36. Joey Logano is minus 38. Ryan Blaney is minus 47, and Chase Elliott is minus 62. And there's no real way outside of Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson both crashing early in the race to be able to look at that as a points deficit you could overcome. All 4 of those guys have to go into Martinsville, and all 4 of those guys have won at Martinsville, knowing they have to win the race if they want to go race at Phoenix for the championship.
Yeah, and who would have expected? Usually Penske does well in the playoffs and everything. So the fact that they're coming down to where they're going to have to win to get in, that's a little bit of a different dynamic than we've seen in the past.
Well, and that's the interesting thing that a lot of people have brought up is like the MO for the 2 Gibbs drivers that have been locked in Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin is doing whatever you can to ensure one of those Penske Fords does not get in because, of course, in the 3 years we've been racing the next-gen car, Penske's won all 3 titles, 2 with Joey Logano and 1 with Ryan Blaney. They've got that place figured out. And you look at Ryan Blaney winning at at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, which is a flat track, very similar to that of Phoenix. It very much seems like their flat track stuff is coming on at the right time. And if one or both of those guys does make it to Phoenix, I think they probably become the favorite.
I would absolutely think so, but I tell you what, Blaney sure has Martinsville figured out.
He's he's won the last couple of years to get himself in.
Yep, absolutely. So with the softer tire and everything, I think he's gonna do well and certainly be one to contend with. So I still think there's a little bit of a hope for a Penske car getting in, but again, he's got to win to do that.
It's going to be interesting to see how Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell race with each other in this race too, because they're above the cut line. Pretty comfortable spots at plus 36 and plus 37. But the thing is, if we have a new winner, well, one of those guys automatically gets bumped out. And with them only being separated by 1 point, again, they could be racing well or, top 5 days or whatever. But whoever's lowest on the points end of that on Sunday would be the one getting bumped. We have one of these 4 guys below the cut line be a winner. So I think both Larson and Bell also have to approach this one and like, hey, I got to make sure I win this race too, just to make sure nobody else knocks me out.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think their racing will be basically there's going to be a few different storylines in this race, and that is definitely going to be one to watch.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. And again, Martinsville, I'm interested to see how the new right side tire, how that wears, and how that's going to play into managing the race and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're getting down to it, and this time next week we'll know who our Final Four is and who's racing for the championship.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and it's looking forward to it. And to see Chase Briscoe win, first year with his crew chief James Small, I think what a great first year for them together. Even if they didn't win, to get to the championship four, that's a good sign for the future.
It is, and he's an easy guy to root for. He's got a great story of how he got just to NASCAR in general, but also to Joe Gibbs Racing. And, he's not somebody that had family funding to get him to his career, and he's had to go the old school route, and that's an easy guy to root for.
Yep, absolutely. I'm kind of hopeful for him, but it'll be it's going to be a fun race. I really think, like we said, there's going to be a lot to watch, and I think Hamlin's just going to kind of cruise a little bit, and Chase Briscoe can kind of do the same.
We'll look forward to see what happens on Sunday, and then we'll be previewing a championship race this time next week. Appreciate it as always, Jen.
Okay. Thanks so much.
And that'll do it for the Extra Point. Coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. As your Wednesday rolls along, we'll get back into what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday when talking to the media in hour number 3 up next here in the game. 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you here, navigating you through the week. We'll get into what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday and start slowly looking at Alabama this upcoming weekend as well. But how we doing today, guys? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Good. How's everybody else?
Good. Anybody make it to Guardian Black Madness last night? Walk Flock of Flame? Anybody take that in?
Jack Velcher did.
Well, he didn't stay for Waka. He did his reporting job and left. What he told me earlier.
Wow. Very, very disappointing. No, I did not make it.
I didn't either. What more could you have going on in your life that would prevent you from going, Wes? Seriously.
Yeah. What am I thinking? I actually, from what I saw, I did watch some videos online. It looked like it was a
good time.
Fantastic event. So shout out to whoever over there with basketball, with the marketing department, with everybody over there who put it together. Great job.
How did they get Waka? Like, what's the connection there? Because he's not shy about being around here. I've seen him do other things in Columbia and Carolina before. Do we know a connection?
He's been around here for a long time.
Yeah.
He used to. There was a guy. There was like a local rapper named Benji, and he. I think there was a connection there. Or they were friends or something, and so Waka used to come around for tailgates and stuff like that. I actually randomly saw him at the airport.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
And I guess it was probably coming off. It was after a game day weekend, I'm guessing, where he was in town. So I don't know. Maybe just is a Gamecock fan.
He's like 6'4", right, Wes? He's a big
yeah,
he's a big guy.
He looks like a basketball player. So
and then you put him up against like us, and then he's even taller.
Yes.
Short Kings.
Yes.
Unite.
It looked like a good time over there. Anybody make it by the Shula protest yesterday by chance either? No? Missed that one?
There were dozens.
There were dozens of angry students mobilizing with their disdain of Mike Shula.
Yeah, I really have anything to add on that.
I'm actually working on writing something, Wes, how you'll randomly get a, not really anything to do with the protest, although there's a line in the piece that I'm putting together about a protest. But, Brett McMurphy this morning, and I'm probably taking off the rails, Tyler, a little bit of what you had planned for segment one.
All good. Take it where you want to go.
But, Brett McMurphy wrote a piece that was very interesting this morning for On 3. I think it came out this morning. I don't know if you guys have checked this out yet, but it was basically, hey, Matt Brown, Mike Krzyzewski, and Frank Beamer, of course, Shane Beamer's father, would not have survived, in this climate to do the things that they ended up doing, and it kind of sparked in my mind, like, that's a really good point. I mean, I think we've all talked about that in the past, but like the pressure to win is extreme now, right? I mean, like, in 1982, when Frank Beamer in his 5th year went 2-8, I think it was 1982.
92. I'm looking at the records.
Yeah, 1992. 5th year, he goes, I think 2-8. Virginia Tech's AD, whoever it was at the time, he wasn't getting angry emails. People didn't use email.
Angry handwritten letters.
They didn't tweet. They weren't making like snarky TikToks. Their YouTube wasn't a thing. The money in college athletics was not what it is now on any side. Like the coaching salaries, the buyouts, the fans pouring money into not only booster club memberships, but ticket costs and travel costs, concession costs, NIL contributions. That stuff just didn't exist. It either didn't exist at all or it didn't exist on the scale that it does now. All the games weren't on TV or streamed, or you're going and watching the all 22 of games and tweeting out takeaways of how good or how bad things were.
We didn't have PFF grades of the 1988 Virginia Tech team.
Like those things were just, they were not around. You didn't have the transfer portal, which heightens the expectation to be able to go and You know, if you have a bad year, hey, got to go change this thing around. Or if you're on the verge, hey, go add a few pieces from the transfer portal, right? Like all that stuff is just so different, and it's intensified. You know, if people were protesting on campuses back then, it probably wasn't about the head football coach. It was about like government overreach, you know, and like war and peace and things like that. And so it's just such a different era. And I think there's just a bunch of reasons that have added up over time, you know, money, social media, all those things where there's just so much more pressure. It doesn't have anything to do, frankly, with, you know, you mentioning the protest, Tyler. It's just kind of like something that came up when I was reading the McMurphy piece this morning. It's like, man, you really don't. I mean, imagine if Frank Beamer got hired at Virginia Tech in 2021, and then in year 5 he's 2-8. He's not there.
Well, and you bring up a good point. Since we're going down this rabbit hole, let's keep going here. Here's his first 6 seasons at Virginia Tech, in which he did not make a bowl game any of these years. 2-9, 3-8, 6-4-1, 6-5, 5-6, 2-8-1. And he did not make a bowl game until their 9-3 campaign in 1993, and then never missed a bowl game after that in his tenure as their head coach. For reference, Brent Pry, who they just fired 3 games into this year, in just a tick over 3 seasons, went 3-8, 7-6, 6-7, 0-3, and didn't even get a 4th year to finish out to see where he was going to go with that. So yes, a very like complete 180 on how we view the opportunity and the time you have to make things happen in college football now compared to then.
Yeah, I would say, guys, the pressure cooker is ridiculous, and, you know, people have no patience. The other side of that argument is that the people are being asked to spend more and more and more and more and more and more money to fund the whole thing, and the coaches and the players are making more and more and more and more money as well. So, you know, when that happens, they're just naturally going to be, you know, higher expectations. And I think while we're seeing college ball go more and more into like an NFL style in just a lot of ways, you also, you see this in the pros. You see guys get fired after 1 year. Mm-hmm. You know, that's happened in college, but it really does not happen very often. And in the pros, it's just, you know, all right, we don't see it. We're moving on. And, you know, so I think you're only going to see, like if you said the average tenure of a coach right now, like you're only going to see that number go down, I think. But I also think you're going to see coaches, you know, maybe get more opportunity, like a James Franklin. He just got fired, but is also going to be one of, like he's going to have a job if he wants it next year. You know what I'm saying? So there's maybe, like we see that in the NFL, good or bad, coaches kind of get recycled a little bit because it's more like, all right, did that last group give you a fair shake? Did you have talent to work with, or you really didn't? Of course, the difference in college is you're recruiting that talent. But then that's a whole nother, I guess, conversation. Did you have the resources to recruit the talent you needed for your particular conference to go win? But, you know, I think that there is a point to be made there that the more we put on the fans, the more, the bigger commitment they have to make. Ultimately, you are in a business where the fans kind of have an ultimate vote. Like it may be the AD and it may be the president, it may be the BOT, the administration, but the fans are ultimately the ones who are going to kind of decide as well.
It's a classic example of mo money, mo problems type of thing. Do you guys want to take a wild guess at what Frank Beamer's starting annual salary was when he took over at Virginia Tech in 1987?
I mean, was it $100K?
It was not $100K. It was $80,000. His first 4 years, was a 4-year deal for $80,000 a year to be the head coach at Virginia Tech back in 1987.
Well, you also now it is insane. Like coaching salaries have obviously outpaced inflation, but you know what's $100K now? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like
a rounding error.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
I mean, gosh, what Teasley was in the mid six figures, as a offensive line coach. Coordinators are in the millions now. Like, you're paying assistants, like low level assistants, $80K. It seems like these days.
Well, I think it correlates too with just the TV contracts. Like once you started, it's almost like, well, all this new money is cycling in here. We're a business. We have to figure out a way to spend it.
Yep.
And then you're going, well, hey, we want to poach that coach from that other school. How do we do that? Well, let's pay them more than they're making at their current place. And so it's just, well, all right. Well, now I want to poach that other guy. And what's my way to do it? Well, we have all these millions of dollars coming in from this TV contract. Let's just pay him more. It'll pay off in the end. And that's, I think, the biggest driver behind, the growth of all this. Now, certainly just inflation, period. Like making 80K then is far different than making 80K now.
Sure.
But the percentage there has, I actually would love to see a graph of inflation versus just average coaching contracts and how much it has grown over the years in the Power 4 or Power 5, former Power 5 level.
No, nothing else to add there, Chris?
No.
Okay.
I think it's crazy. Even Steve Spurrier's first, deal at South Carolina in 2005. So, yeah, that's 20 years ago, but I think it was $1 million.
That was a big deal then.
Big deal then. Whoa, $1 million, big contract. But it was Steve freaking Spurrier, So you're like, okay, $1 million. And now, again, that's not much. Coordinators, there's a Penn State who just fired their coach, brought in I think $3 million coordinator, right? Wasn't that the first one that we've seen? We now see
Koldenicki?
No, it was Jim Knowles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Knowles on defense.
Away from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got $3 million as a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few years ago, that's a head coaching salary, and that's a bigger head coaching salary than a lot of G5 schools. Shane Beamer's salary was very low when he first got it at South Carolina. It was $2.75 million. Now he's at over $8 million, and that is not at the top of the league by any means. So the numbers are crazy, and that has – that's one of the prime factors. Maybe that's the biggest factor, right? As you pointed out, Wes. Like, if you're looking for reasons why things are different right now, the pressure, I think the money is what you really – that's kind of your starting point as to why things are so different now.
Well, and with that money, as you just mentioned, what Beamer makes now with his contract extension comes high expectations, which unfortunately the team not living up to in 2025. What are the goals that Coach Beamer is setting for the rest of the year? What are goals that we're setting for this team for the rest of the year? We can discuss that coming up as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along on your Wednesday on the game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling. That is Krantz with a K, cooling with a K.com if you want to learn more information about all their great services. 803-672-3224 is the number if you need them. Hopefully right now you don't need them, but maybe go ahead and give them a call and set up some preventative maintenance to make sure that your heating or cooling units are up to par right now. Of course, the temps are in that range where we're starting to go from being warm, being mild to pretty soon it'll be kind of cold out, so you want to make sure you aren't left in the cold. Go ahead and kind of be aggressive there and let them come out and do a big advanced look at your system. Now, if you do have to replace the system, great thing about it is this is something we had to do, but you can call them. You can set this up where you can get 0% APR for 60 months on qualifying equipment. Great deal there. Again, 0%. Make sure you go to the website, krantzcooling.com, for more information on that.
Like I said on Saturday, I mean, it's going 1-0 each week, starting this week, which will be a big challenge, but it's maximizing the potential of this year's team. And we haven't reached that potential. I, as the head coach, have not gotten the most out of these players and coaches. And that's what we're working hard on to do. And that, to me, is still the high hopes and the high expectations that we have to be able to get the most out of this team, whatever that is record-wise. Let's do it and maximize this team.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris with you on your Wednesday here on the game. Coach Beamer yesterday speaking to the media about goals that he still has for this team going forward as they close out the season with the final 5 games starting with Alabama on Saturday. And like every coach will tell you, focus on being 1-0, trying to take the task at hand 1 week at a time. And obviously, at the end of the day, you'd like to see him get to at least 6 wins and get to a bowl game and try and make something out of what's unfortunately not been a great season so far. So those are some of his goals for this team in the next 5 games. As far as we are concerned, what goals are we setting for this team? What do we want to see out of them in what might be the only 5 games they get left?
Yeah, I mean, starting this weekend, I think, first of all, can you get some semblance of just continuity and I would say in terms of the offensive line, just some semblance of consistency. You know, I think when you look at this group, it has been a struggle for obviously for much of the year, and you have injuries at this point that you're dealing with, but you know, even before that, you obviously had issues on the offensive line. So can you find a way to maybe find 5 correct guys, 5 healthy guys, and just start to see those flashes, you know, or a little bit more than flashes, I guess I should say. We've seen the flashes, but can there be a little bit of consistency there? And, you know, I think on the other side, we've seen South Carolina's defense this year, for the most part, give them a chance in each game. But I do think it's going to ramp up tremendously. Like, you know, Ty Simpson, Ryan Grubb, that's the Alabama OC, the Alabama receivers, like really this entire offense, it's going to be a tough test this weekend. Ole Miss is going to be a tough test. A&M on the road is going to be a tough test. Like, it really steps up in terms of what you're going to face. So can you continue to sort of do some of the things you've done on defense against much tougher competition is something that I want to see. But, guys, I'm sure we'll talk about it as the week goes on. But in a lot of ways, the Alabama offense is kind of what I feel like Shane Beamer envisioned the South Carolina offense being. You know, this is not a super college-y style offense. Like this is like the example of what a pro style, you know, shifts, motions, under center some offense can look like in college when it's like actually hitting.
Yeah, because, I mean, Ryan Grubb, who has been with Kalen DeBoer during his time at Washington, you know, when DeBoer got the job at Bama, left for a year and went and took the Seattle Seahawks OC job. So he's running that system at the NFL level and brought it back to the college level. And I think you make a good point, Wes. Like, that is what you want it to look like. And it didn't look like it in week 1, and now it does. They've been really good. I think you know, to try to answer your question, Tyler, this South Carolina team could play a lot better than they have the past few weeks, and they could even play more consistently than they did in the Missouri game when we saw flashes, and in the LSU game when we saw flashes. One of those games in the passing game, one of those in the run game. They could become more consistent and play better, just overall, offensively and defensively and special teams, all phases, and still not have the results the next few weeks because the competition is stepping up more. Not that they didn't face really good competition in the early part of the season, they did, but this is the part of the schedule that we all outlined. Even when we thought that this team would be a different team than we thought, like, we still went into this season saying, okay, that's going to be a really, really tough schedule, and it has been. You know, if you're Carolina, you know, one of the things probably on fans' minds, you know, hey, can we go into a game and score like 28 points on offense only, because they haven't done that this year, right? Well, you look at, you know, Alabama football this year, they're not giving up those point totals this season. You know, they are, you know, Tennessee last week scored 20. They just aren't giving up those types of point totals. Now, are they, you know, if you're looking for a side of the ball for Bama that's quote-unquote weaker, especially relative to how their offense is playing, maybe there's some plays to be made there. But my point is, you've got to try to improve and become more consistent offensively. You're going to have to score some points to win this game, and you're still going to have to do it against a Bama defense that's, look, it's not Oklahoma, right? They're not that good, but they're still very talented. One of the most talented rosters in college football overall, which is why the week 1 result against FSU was so shocking. It was one reason. You're still going to have to go try to do it. And a lot of teams who have had more offensive success than South Carolina this year did not have the success that they needed against Bama on this win streak. But, you know, I think that's something that people want to see is, can you go out offensively and give yourself more of a chance than you've given lately? You know, people won't be happy about losses this week or the next few weeks if it ends up playing out that way. but I think they want to see some type of progress this season in terms of putting points on the scoreboard.
You guys hit on a lot of the points that I had written down in terms of goals, and one that I want to hit that coincides with everything here is continuing to play with effort, continuing to play like you care. And this is where an area that we give Beamer a lot of credit for, because in the ups and downs that's been his tenure so far, had a low point like the year 2 years ago where you missed a bowl game. We never felt like that team gave up. Nobody was going through the motions. Nobody was saying, all right, we're not playing for anything. We're checked out and just trying to get to the end of the year. These next 3 weeks will really test you in that regard, because you're going up against the toughest competition you faced. And if you get through these next 2 games, don't win any of them, we have 7 losses and are not going to be going to a bowl game at that point in time. So that's where that mindset of, hey, we're not playing for anything, let's just try and get through these last 2 games and go either somewhere else or focus on next season or whatever. That's where this team's really going to get tested. And I want to see them, win or lose, continue to play with the same effort they have been playing with, because, again, Beamer's never had a team give up on them, and we certainly don't want that to be the case this year either.
Well, and I think one of the goals should be, and I don't know if it's realistic or not, but the beauty of sports, the beauty of football is there's a reason you play the games. Can you still find that one just big upset win? Like, I know right now, individually, you look at these next 3 games, does it look daunting? Yes, absolutely it does. You kind of looked at it, and if you looked at these games as like 5 games, you looked at the first 2 like, hey, LSU, I can kind of squint a little bit and maybe see that, but you're also going, well, it's at Baton Rouge, that's going to be tough, but is LSU that good? With Oklahoma coming in, you were going, well, their offense has really struggled. It's at home. Maybe you get some momentum going. That one didn't happen. On paper, this one coming up seems like a pretty tough matchup, because I think if you're going to beat Alabama, you're going to really have to outscore them. Like I think Alabama has an offense that's going to put up points on a lot of people this year. They have a defense that creates a bunch of turnovers and creates really timely turnovers. So it's going to be tough. But so on paper, you're going to be heavy underdogs the next 3 weeks. But we have seen. And people will say, well, that's not going to happen this time. Well, you weren't saying it was going to happen leading into the other times it's happened either. That's why it's surprising. So can you South Carolina was a far bigger underdog with Tennessee coming to town a few years ago than it is going into this game this weekend. They were 3 touchdown underdogs with those guys coming in. Now, you go back and watch that game, South Carolina actually got pretty decent O-line play and gave Spencer Rattler a chance to go make some plays, and they just straight up outscored Tennessee. So I think you need for, even if you don't win it, here would be my goal, and this is not a goal the coaches should have, but us just watching it, I want for at least one of these 3 games for you to exit and be like, man, we were like, we had a real shot to win that game. Like, you look at this game this past week against Oklahoma, you kind of look at it, and you're like, man, Oklahoma kind of just controlled this entire game.
Yeah, and I think you can look back, and we'll dive into the rewind coming up tomorrow, like last year's game against Alabama, where you walked out of there saying, wow, Carolina really probably should have won that game if not for, really 2 plays right there at the very end. Like, again, it'd still be a loss, but one of those kinds of performances that kind of says, okay, something is finally turning in the right direction here, particularly offensively, to where you can look at the next couple of games after that maybe a little bit differently with more optimism.
Yeah, 100%. And, week to week, football is different. What you did last week doesn't always carry over to this week, good or bad. Can Alabama keep playing well this many times in a row? I mean, they've had 4 straight top 25 matchups. Do you have that edge this week if you're Alabama?
We will see. We'll get into what some of the offensive linemen had to say to the media yesterday, including how do they find their identity. We'll dive into that coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Wednesday on the Game.
All right, folks, you've heard us tell you about them for years now. It's our friends at Integrated Media, integratedmediainc.com. Go check out that website right now. Right in the middle of your screen, you hit the Our Services tab. It's going to drop down. You can see all the great things they can do at your home. They've been to my home. They've been to Chris's as well. Let them come out to yours. I know if you're a sports fan, every person I know that's a big sports fan has that little vision in their head of, man, I would love to turn that extra room into kind of a man cave. I would love to turn the garage into a hangout space. I would love to upgrade my office and just make it look a little bit more professional or just like a little bit more inviting. Our friends at Integrated Media, they can do that for you. Take that vision to reality, whether it's hanging the TV, full surround sound. Maybe you want the peace of mind of security and cameras all linked in around your house. They can do that too. Just hit them up today. Again, that website, integratedmediainc.com.
Identity. That's something that we struggle with. And that's something that we still working on. We know that we want to be the strongest, toughest, most physical team on Saturday. So we're going to keep on working on that until we get it accomplished.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Star West Chris with you on your Wednesday here on the game. That was voice of Rodney Newsom talking yesterday to the media about the areas that this offensive line is struggling with. And, of course, there's a lot of them, which is why it's been such a big talking point so far this year. But he points out the lack of identity is the biggest thing that's hampering them, which that's obviously a concern when we're talking about that this far into the season. But when you think about offensive lines, some of the better, great ones over the years, you can always kind of pinpoint something that they're really, really good at, if not multiple things. Some of them really good at just run blocking. Some of them, don't let their quarterbacks ever get touched. Some of them are just really physical, where even if you win the game, you're going to leave it, battered, black and blue, and all that kind of stuff. And none of those things describe the South Carolina offensive line. It hasn't helped that you've had to shift guys in and out due to injury and all that kind of stuff. But as you've made the change from Lonnie Teasley to Sean Elliott, they're still trying to figure out what they are, what they can be good at, and trying to piece that together in the last 5 games.
Yeah, I think to drill it down even further, a lot of times an offense will maybe figure out too, like, hey, we're really good at this particular run. Like, hey, this group, hey, inside zone, it seems to hit a little bit more. Or, there was several years ago, one of the Muschamp teams, all of a sudden, everybody was talking about the concept of pin and pull, and it was because South Carolina in one of those games started running a lot more pin and pull, and for whatever reason, those running backs with those offensive linemen, it was a high quality play for them, and they said, hey, let's start to double down on this. And then what do you do? Hey, if that's our identity, what can we run off of that? What are some complementary plays that we can use off the pin and pull? Let's run play action off of it. Let's run maybe some counters off of it and then go from there. Well, the problem is you kind of have to have that initial, you have to find it. And to this point, they've tried many different things, and, it just has not happened to this point. I was reading something the other day about how that Ohio State offense last year going into the college football playoff, out of nowhere, they just started running counter like crazy. Like they had run it like 20% of the time or something for most of the year. They started running it 50% of the time in the playoffs, and all of a sudden, this thing is just hitting, and they just stuck with it, right? And so you do hope that you can ultimately find that, and it doesn't even have to be like one of those things. Like Missouri, their outside zone, like that stretch play, they build everything around that. Like that is their identity all the way down to how they recruit, how they build their offense, how they evaluate their offensive linemen. It doesn't have to be quite to that extent. Every given team, every given group can have a little bit different identity. But I think what his point is that they just have not found what that is. Just like some teams may say, hey, you may be more of a run-oriented program, but maybe you get the right group together and you go, hey, we're a far better passing team than we are most years. Let's lean into the passing game. So I think that's something you hope as the year goes on, it kind of shows itself. To RJ's point, maybe it just has not shown itself this year.
Yeah, and even when this group's been healthier, they haven't found that. They haven't been fully healthy in a while. And certainly you look at the Oklahoma game, I mean, look, everything else also matters, but it does make it tougher against the nation's number 1 defense when you have 3 guys that have started games, whether it's full-time starters or they've started at least one game like Nolan Hay, and then you lose 3 more guys throughout the course of the game. And you're already struggling on top of that to start with. That's going to make it tougher to find that identity, whether it's, more of a philosophical identity or just finding something in the run game that you can kind of hang your hat on. And they haven't been able to do that. It kind of goes back to that lack of consistency. Shane Beamer did point out, by the way, yesterday, a little healthier on the offensive line. Sounds like Casey Henry is done for the year. He was a starter. Small sample size, but when he was in there at the beginning of the year, did seem like he was probably the most consistent guy. So that's a loss since you're very likely not going to have him the rest of the year. Sounds like that group overall is more healthy than they have been. Shed Surratt made strides strides going into last week, but still didn't see action against Oklahoma. They lost a few guys during that game. Sounds like the other ones practiced, including Nolan Hay, who's missed a couple games in a row now. Does that help him? Does that give Sean Elliott a little more flexibility to, play some different players, go into the game with a different starting lineup, be able to insert someone for non-injury reasons if he feels like there's a change needed? To what extent can that help? I don't know, but you'd certainly rather have, as you try to figure this thing out against this loaded schedule down the stretch, you'd definitely rather have closer to a full complement of players. And it looks like at least they're going to have that going into the Bama game.
And one thing that was also touched on yesterday, Beamer talked about it, the linemen that were made available also talked about yesterday, was playing a little bit more edge, playing a little bit more meaner, right? And look, that's something that it can't be completely ingrained in somebody in a couple days or even a couple weeks. That's, off-season type stuff or something you're just kind of born with as a player and as a competitor. But when you have a guy like Sean Elliott that is as intense as he is and has the coaching style that he has, maybe helping this offensive line play with a little bit more of an edge. And who knows, maybe that could become part of their identity in the last couple games of, hey, these guys are just tough, physical, more than they had been at least to start the season.
I got to say, too, guys, from an individual standpoint, you really wouldn't expect to be in a position, if you haven't really played a ton, to, still have a spot up for grabs for you. But, if you're one of the individuals in that room and, you have obviously high goals for yourself and the season just hasn't gone as expected, you still have a chance to go earn some snaps, to go earn some reps. So, I think one really positive goal for South Carolina, maybe if you drill it past as a team, you want to start to see some guys emerging. You know what I'm saying? We saw Marquis Anderson get in there, and he's dealt with so many injuries in his career. Wouldn't it be a positive if Marquis could just push and maybe play a little bit more? I thought he was kind of actually a little bit of a bright spot in the second half last week, even though he was playing more so because of injuries at this point. Demola Ejidahun kind of, he kind of got welcomed to SEC'd a little bit, but as a true freshman to be out there, to be playing, to be, just have opportunities to go get reps, that's valuable in terms of your development. So can any of these guys just individually take a couple of steps forward to where, not that we're talking about next season yet, but to where you're feeling good about them? Shed Surratt's played a ton as a true freshman this year. Can he really just lock in and have a nice finish to his first year, maybe to springboard into the offseason? I think those are all things that, offensive lines are finicky, man. They can look awful one week, and then weirdly you might just be like, did they just finally gel together? Mm-hmm. And, and I'm not predicting that. And that doesn't, you don't really go from worst to first or anything like that. But you can't, it's never too late to turn it around. And, I know people get frustrated when Beamer says things like, hey, we're still close. He's not saying he's happy with being 3-4 or that 1-4 in the SEC is close to where they want to be. He's saying, hey, in our execution and what we're trying to do, we're still closer than you think we are because the margins in these games are still very, very tight.
Come back, wrap up the hour, talk a little bit more about Alabama as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs continues. I actually, real quick as we hit this break, almost forgot. We have to give away Firehouse Subs tailgating platter as we do have another home game. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Do have a home game this week. So right now, caller number 4 at 803-404-6100. Get yourself the Firehouse Subs tailgate platter this week for the home game against Alabama. We'll come back and wrap up the hour up next here on your Wednesday on the Game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris wrapping up the hour here on your Wednesday. Congratulations to Billy for winning this week's Firehouse Tailgate Platter for this weekend's game against Alabama. We'll really dive into the specifics of this Crimson Tide team tomorrow. Also rewind, take a look back at what happened in last year's game as well. But this is one of those situations, again, it's going to be a tough test for Carolina, but there is something special about the opportunity to play a team that's, for one, playing as well as Alabama is, and two, to be the standard of college football. I know it's not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore, but they're kind of playing like it right now, and they have the second best odds to win the national championship. And there was an excitement of seeing Oklahoma coming here last week because, hey, that's a team that's never visited Williams-Brice Stadium before, got to see their fans here and all that kind of stuff, which was neat. There's just something about seeing Alabama in person, and I've never seen them play in person myself, that makes you excited for a game like this, even though, you know, it's going to be an uphill challenge for a team like South Carolina.
Yeah, on paper, it's going to be tough, man. I think Ty Simpson is at least playing as good as any quarterback in the country right now. For a year where we had a bunch of different names we were looking at for, you know, preseason Heisman favorites and stuff like that, Ty Simpson, I don't think was on any of those lists necessarily. I look at what he's done so far. I mean, I think this guy absolutely should be in the Heisman conversation. He is making outstanding decisions. I think I saw 18 touchdowns to 1 interception.
Yep.
While you're playing opposite, you know, we talk about complementary football a lot. You're playing opposite of a defense that forces a bunch of turnovers for you. And, you know, you do that while also just being in a position to you have an offense coordinator that keeps defenses, I think, on their toes very well, a quarterback that knows how to go to the line of scrimmage, survey what's about to happen, change the play, get them at least out of bad plays, but a lot of times get them into good plays. And, you know, I think this is a title contender. Possibly even, I mean, who would y'all have in the national title right now?
Oh, man.
I'll give you a moment. I mean, yeah, I could eat my words on this because things change very quickly, as we've seen. I mean, I could see it being Ohio State and Alabama in the title game, and I feel like that would be a fun game.
That's what comes to mind for me too. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, right now. I mean, I think those are the two teams playing the best, you know, and like Alabama since week one. I mean, here's what they've done: 73-0 over ULM, 38-14 over Wisconsin. Neither of those teams are good, right? So you go, all right, great. What are you going to do next? Well, beat number 5 Georgia in Athens, beat Vandy by 16 points, beat Missouri at Missouri, beat Tennessee by 17 points, right? And Ty Simpson, to your point, Wes, I mean, is anybody playing better than him at quarterback right now? 1,900 yards, completing 70% of his passes, 18 touchdowns, just one pick, that one pick being in the Vandy game. And not, you know, mobile enough. Like you're not sitting there going, wow, we really, really have to worry about the run game with Ty Simpson, but he can run. Like he's got a 19-yard run, a 20-yard run, a 10-yard run. He can get out of there a little bit. What stands out about him is just how he sees the field. He can throw on the run. Like he's made some throws. I mean, Shane Beamer used the phrase yesterday, mind-boggling. Like some of the throws that he's making into tight windows, a lot of the NFL scouting types on social media have started passing around a lot of Ty Simpson throws, just going, this is a pro-level throw. So he's someone where you've got to be darn near perfect, you know, in the secondary and try the best you can to find some ways to affect him. Now, Vandy and Missouri, you know, that Vandy game was certainly very close earlier. Should have been closer. They had a couple turnovers, I think, in the red zone. The Missouri game was obviously just a 3-point win. Both those teams did sack him 4 times. So I think if you're looking for an early key, like you've got to find some way, manufacture some ways to pressure him, because if not, he's going to pick you apart. And then as a defensive coordinator, that's your concern of if we don't get there and we're devoting less personnel in the secondary, he can also make you pay. So he has really, really, you know, driven this turnaround for them from game one until now. He's played well all season.
Yeah, I brought this up earlier to Jack. If you would have asked most people after week number 1 how they would have viewed this game with Carolina and Alabama, I'd say, 90% of people would have said, Carolina's probably going to win that game. Alabama looked terrible on the road. It'll be a road trip. Carolina won their game against Virginia Tech, and, man, those narratives have shifted completely back in the other direction.
Like, man, the Gamecocks will be favored at home.
Yeah.
Should have won last year. Ty Simpson, he's a game manager. I mean, I tell you the other thing that stands out to me, guys, and this is not a knock on Ty Simpson. He's been phenomenal. But the wide receivers right now for Alabama, I know Ryan Williams had some issues with drops earlier in the year.
He's hitting his stride right now.
His confidence is up. Those guys, you look at Jeremy Bernard after the catch, this guy is as good as anybody. I feel like
Gordon, good too.
Yeah, like this. I mean, it goes on and on, but Ryan Williams, this is a game where, I feel like Ty Simpson is very good at giving those guys a chance to go catch the football. And when Ryan Williams is on, he's as good as anybody. At the catch point in terms of all right, there may actually be great coverage here, but Simpson will put the ball where only he can go get it. And then when he is on, he's one of the guys who can actually go out and get the thing. So going to be a lot of competitive catches in this game, potentially.
Talk more about Alabama coming up tomorrow as your week rolls along. Coming up next, the halftime show with myself and Bill Gunner as your Wednesday continues here on The Game.
Our friends over at Game Day Men's Health can help you as a man reclaim your vitality by optimizing hormone levels. They specialize in TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy, which will help boost your energy and strength. And they're a lot different than other clinics that do similar things. They have in-house labs that can deliver your results in just 15 minutes. They're conveniently located in Northeast Columbia near I-77 and Two Notch Road. Comfortable man cave style clinics with TVs and refreshments while you wait. Also great, they don't use any long-term contracts. Flexible plans tailored to your needs. TRT tests available to check your levels with absolutely no obligation, and then ongoing monitoring committed to your success with expert guidance. You can get started by going to GameDayMen'sHealth.com/North-Columbia. Again, located just off I-77, or give them a call, 803-265-3161.